Welcome to another episode of Global Business. I am your guest, Dr. Neva with Nevalliance. I give you a global leadership experience. I'm a global leadership strategist, and I do the global leadership experience through events that I curate. Today, I have a lovely guest for you. Fabulous, I should say. It's Tasha Owens. Tasha Talks Life. And you know how we do it here. I have my guests introduce themselves because no one can do it better than they can because they know who they are. Tasha, how are you?
Hello, Dr. Neva. First, thank you so much for having me. So yes, my name is Tasha Owens. I go by Miss Tasha Talks Life. I am an accountability coach and the voice behind the Tasha Talks Life podcast, formerly known as Sis Stop Sulking podcast. I help women go from burnout to balance, clarity, and radical self-love using a signature framework called the EPIC method. I'm an author, a mom, educator, all of the things. So yeah, that's who I am. Thank you again for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. I'm going to say Miss Tasha because title is important. I'm going to put the title on it. So Tasha, um, you in your intro, you really describe burnout in a sense. Now, hear me out. When you mention, mom, the work that you're doing and everything, I can see where burnout can be right there. So, my question to you right off the bat, we hear the word burnout everywhere, but you have lived it and you've coached women through it. When someone's stuck in that cycle, what's the first shift you'd ask them to make? Not a big life overall, just a small thing that starts moving her back towards balance.
Yes, that's a great question. So first, I just want to say, when you think of balance, initially you want to think of something being leveled, right? Two things being leveled, and that's not what balance is. Balance is being intentional, being present, and giving yourself grace. So we are redefining what balance really is, right? And it's not everything gets the same equal amount of attention. So the first thing I would tell someone that has experienced what they may feel as burnout, overwhelm, anxiety, things like that, is to take an audit of the day to day in your life. What are you doing every single day? At what points of the day do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel burnt out? And see how you can like it's the wheel of life, right? So you have all the different categories: physical, mental, family, career, finances, all of those different categories. I believe it's seven. And you look at them and you rate them. And then from there, you get to see where your wheel is bumpy and where you need to put a little more attention and what you need to take off. So that's would be the first step, is to just take a complete audit of what it is that's going on, so you can see it at a broader scope, and then you can dive in from there.
Okay, okay. So, you talk about balance in a way that feels real, doable, something that's doable. For you, personally, what does balance look like on a regular Tuesday, not
Yeah.
not being perfect, Instagram perfect, but in the messy, real way.
Yeah, that's it, because that's life, right? So I am a boy mom, and my kids are in sports. They play instruments. I'm in a lot of community events. Again, I have a business and all of these things. I'm an educator. And so on a regular Tuesday, what balance is for me is taking a moment to pause and see, what do I need right now, right? I'm feeling like, okay, I got this to do, I got that to do. Okay, let me take a pause, and what do I need? And 9 times out of 10, it's a cat nap. I am a part of the nap ministry. Okay. I wake up a new person. So I take my nap and I realize that life is going to be okay with me taking 30 minutes out of it. My kids are going to survive. Things are going to get done. The laundry is going to get folded. The dinner is going to be 30 minutes late, if that's what it's going to be. But I take honor in what I need. And if I'm not good, then no one's good. Right. So that's what I do for sure.
cat nap, 30 minutes. You think 30 minutes can be enough? Or, the other flip side, I've heard like you taking a nap in a day shouldn't be a part of the routine. It comes across lazy. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, and I feel like when people say that's like pooey, like what do you mean? Lazy? Like, okay, so for someone who is always on the go, 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 they may feel guilty for taking time, but a nap is recharging. A nap is a state of peace. So even if it's not, even if you can't literally fall asleep because your brain is it just keeps going, meditating, watching, just staring out the window, right? Any type of stillness. It doesn't necessarily have to be a nap. Like I'm always on the go, so I could fall asleep almost anywhere. I have to set a timer and everything, right? But if you feel like you feel guilty, you feel lazy, then go into a 10, 15-minute meditation. Just quiet your mind, quiet your body, tap into yourself because that is where you get your energy, where the energy comes in, is slowing down and really paying attention to what do I need? Let me slow down. Let me close the tabs in my brain. And you know what I'm saying? And then I can get a second wind, if you will.
What do you say to someone who's like, they feel guilty, you know? What would you say to them? Like
I
they
would,
feel guilty, the parent that's like yourself,
yeah, I
what
was
would you say?
there and I had to dig deep on why do I feel guilty? Why do you feel guilty? And so for me, and it would be like a series of questions after that. Why do you feel guilty? And what would happen if you release that guilt? Who is affected by this, right? And for me, I found that my mom guilt came from my parents not being there for me at things like that. And so once I got to the bottom of it, it was like, but my kids can't say that. So it's okay for me to unplug. It's okay for me to take 30 minutes, right? Because they know that I'm there for them all the time. I'm all their events, all their stuff. So if there's a moment when I choose me, my kids are okay with that. And I have those conversations. It's not like I'm just not showing up. So I would just say to really get to the root of where does this guilt stem from? There's something underlying there, something possibly from childhood, possibly, you feel like you're abandoning because you were abandoned or whatever the case may be, when in actuality, it's your own projection.
Yes, thanks for that, Tasha. Now let's move on. Let's get into goals. A lot of us set intentions at the start of the year. We know about that, right? We're going to, or even the week, and then it fades fast. It doesn't last. So, in your epic method, what makes the difference between a goal that fizzles and one that actually gets achieved?
Yes. So I am an accountability. I'm a self-proclaimed accountability coach. I'm certified in life coaching and health and wellness, but I chose accountability because goals and actually seeing those goals being achieved is what gets me like excited. And so the epic method, basically a regular goal, you set the goal, you really genuinely want to achieve the goal, right? But you don't have tools or the mindset to get through it. So that's why I think it's about 80-90% of people start goals and don't finish, right? The difference with the EPIC method as a framework to help you is that we go by these 4 pillars. EPIC is embodying. So if I want to achieve the goal of saving money, that's an easy example, right? I have to embody the person that saves money. What does she do? How does she spend her money? How does she save? How does she talk? How does she dress? What education does she need? How does she feed her mind? Right. And then feeding, going into that. So you're tapping into your self-awareness, you're tapping into your self-worth, and you're tapping into that mindset shift, right? Now, power is now we're taking those things, our core values, and we're debunking those limiting beliefs, the things that say, I'm not good with money. My partner is the one that pays the bills, whatever. I'm still using the money example, right? I like to shop, whatever that is. Now you can reframe that. So you're kind of taking ownership of it, if it makes sense. And then you go to the I, which is implementation, which is the goals with the action plan and the accountability. A lot of times we have goals, but we don't know the steps. We don't have a time frame. We don't know, the target, things like that. Or we push it out too far where it's really unrealistic and unattainable. So we do it in bite sizes. And then last, which is an underrated strategy, is to commit and celebrate. Commit is creating a consistency. Okay, maybe I'm gonna do a no spin October. Maybe I'm gonna give up Starbucks for a week and make coffee at home. Whatever the commitment is, being consistent, disciplined, and then celebrating the small wins. If you're like me, it's like, okay, I achieved it. Next, where I have to take a step back and say, yeah, girl, you did that, and celebrate. So using the epic method is a way to kind of embody it and full circle and completely immerse yourself in it, and you're more likely to achieve it.
I'm gonna throw something at you here because someone may say, well, it's easier said than done. You're trying to make me cut out something out of my, let's say, the Starbucks that
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned, right? Out of for a month, you know, you don't know my lifestyle, so it's just easier said or done. And what's your advice to that person?
I would say, what is your why? How big is your why? Right? Is it that big? If it's not, you're not going to achieve it anyway. If you don't have a big, that's why a lot of people don't change until it's life or death. People don't change until it's something that it's like, oh my God, a big shock. It doesn't have to be that way. You have to have a thought process. Maybe making your why to not have Starbucks is because I genuinely want to be able to buy a house, or I genuinely want to pay off this credit card. You got to give something to get something. So I'm not like sweet and sprinkly. I kind of give it to you. My clients love it. We laugh, we joke, but I'm also going to ask those hard questions because you can't keep coming back after with no growth and no progress. Well, how big is your why? So that's pretty much what I would say.
Love it. What is your why, guys? What is your why? Again, this is Global Business. If you are listening on YouTube, we are here on a Wednesday at noon. I can't answer your questions because I'm not seeing if you're putting any questions out there, but definitely we'll get back to you. With that also said, Nevalliance is the name of the company, and we have fantastic events. One that's coming up all the way in March, but I have to put it out there as the International Women's Conference, and we host it at Hofstra University. We have some big names coming in 2026. As always, we have great influential individuals that we present to you, that we bring to you. We also will have in May our retreat, and we're planning to go to Jamaica, and I hope that you are able to join us. So back to you, Tasha. Can you give us a brief and, it doesn't really have to be brief, but we do have a time, but give us a before and after story of someone who went from burned out to balance, or, from a vague intention to actually crushing a goal. You know, I think listeners love hearing what's possible when the shifts. So,
Yeah, that's great. That's an awesome question. I love talking about it. I can use myself for an example. Let's say prior to actually getting really into coaching, I didn't know who I was outside of being a mom, a wife, a daughter. I held a title at the church as I was an usher, church treasurer, all of these things. I was an educator and I also was a mathlete, and I had all these moving parts. Identified as being those things. And then when COVID hit, I was forced to sit still. And in sitting still, I realized I rediscovered who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like. And I also was going through a breakup, a massive breakup. And so struggling mentally, struggling with just trying to keep my head above water. And I had to go into solitude. And going into solitude, getting to the bottom of who I was, I started to really delve into God and his word. And now I'm looking at the framework came from me reverse engineering how I got here. So it was kind of like, okay, getting like basically going down rock bottom to the bottom and saying, what do I truly want? What do I want? What do I want to feel? How do I want to show up? And so really heavy journaling, visualization, and really seeing it. And as I saw it, I began to embody it. And then some people would say, you're pretending. No, if this is what I desire to be, this is what I'm going to do. For example, a person that is quitting smoking says, I'm not a smoker. A person that is unsure or not certain is saying, I'm quitting smoking. You see the difference? Like, so embodying it is saying like, I am not that, or I don't do that, or whatever. So I had to do that. And then I went through all of the steps that I mentioned earlier. And that's how I got the framework, but that's how I was able to get to the other side, where now I have clear boundaries. A yes is a yes, a no is an absolute no, right? I also take time for myself. I'm intentional with my self-care. I'm intentional with my girls' time. I'm intentional with myself, my by myself time, my kids. So I'm very structured that way. And I just feel lighter. I feel lighter. I wake up grateful, every day is not perfect and in no means, but I have tools that helps me to kind of navigate them better. Whereas I could be in a funk, something happens, and then the whole rest of the day can be because I've manifested it, I've said it. So now I know how to like deal with life in its moments. It's just a moment. If I spill my coffee in the morning, it doesn't have to ruin my whole day. It's just a moment. So yeah, so I love to share like where I was to where I am, because if I can do it, it is, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And again, every day is not perfect by any means, but when you have the tools, it just seems so much more doable, so much more what is the word I'm looking for? Achievable, so.
Awesome. I really like the example that you shared, and really using you as an example so that people see you're not just talking, you're doing the walk,
Yeah.
right? Every single day. And yeah, sometimes people might look at an individual and think, oh, they have it easy, but it takes a lot of discipline, right? Being consistent, like you know your why, you know your goal, and you just keep pushing, you just keep going. So, for the woman listening right now, that woman who is exhausted, but still, she has big dreams, what's one step she can take tonight to feel a little bit more in control, and the mindset shift to carry with her tomorrow?
Yeah, that's so good. There's so many first steps. So I like to use just two things. So the first thing I would say is the first step that you can take is to create a routine, whether it's a morning routine or a night routine, right? Because how you start your day matters. It matters, right? So that's what I did. I started with a morning routine. It doesn't have to be anything strenuous. It doesn't. Wake up, make your bed, journal, drink some water, stretch. That's it, or whatever it entails. But just wake up, pray, sit still, meditate, whatever it is to start your day in a positive light. Affirmations, speaking life over yourself. Also setting your intentions the night before for the morning ahead, right? No, going to bed grateful, waking up, going to bed saying, tomorrow I will do this. Tomorrow will be an amazing day. Tomorrow I plan on achieving this one goal, whatever that looks like the night before. Then in the morning, you already have your expectation, you already have your intention. And so I would say those probably be the easiest and the best way to start. The first step is to pick a routine, a morning routine or a night routine, and just be consistent with that. And just to piggyback on that, I like to say day-to-day method. I feel like I've never heard this before, so I should hurry up and like but it's called the day-to-day method, right? So for example, if you decide that let's use Starbucks. Today I'm not gonna have Starbucks, and go about your business. Today I'm not gonna have Starbucks. Today I'm not. So it's only for the day. Next thing you know, you've went 30 days without Starbucks and your pockets are fatter because those things are expensive. But If you don't, if you say, I'm not going to have Starbucks for 7 days, I'm not going to have Starbucks for a month, you're like, what? I'm used to having Starbucks every single day. How do I do that? So use the day-to-day method will be very helpful. That's how I gave up sugar. And I'm not saying that I don't have it here and there, because the holiday that's coming is going to be like, but I'm very disciplined now where I can say, today I'm not going to have that today. And now the cravings have diminished. You know what I'm saying? So those are two strategies. And as far as mindset, give yourself grace,
Right.
right? Give yourself grace. Also know that if you're not okay, no one else is okay. That's just the way, that's just how it is. We are the way, right? And so our homes, we are the center of the home. We make everything run smoothly. Even if you're the only one in your home, you are the center of your home, right? So if you're not good, nothing else is good. If you're not good, you can't even go to work. If you're not, you know what I'm saying? So take care of yourself, take care of yourself, and just give yourself grace. That's the mindset shift, I would say.
So, yeah, a lot of us set up this long-term goal, but that short term, that day to day really works. I need to try the sugar though, because I just try to reduce, which I'm good, but just to say totally, you know, totally. I mean, I don't do, yeah, like I do honey, but still, it is,
Uh-huh,
you
uh-huh.
know. So really got to get with that. But you know what I mean? It's this just to have the discipline,
Yes.
right? And just say it day to day. I love that tip. So Tasha, Miss Tasha, how can they find you?
Yes. So, oh my God, this was so good. Thank you so much, Dr. Neva, for having me. I appreciate you so much. I am everywhere. Tasha Talks Life. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Tasha Talks Life. You can find me, connect with me. My show is on YouTube. It is Tasha Talks Life podcast, but you can just search Tasha Talks Life. And yeah, that's it.
That is awesome. Yes, guys. So, as I mentioned before, if you just joined us, if you're logging on, but just remember, we are here on a Wednesday at noon. And to learn more about what we do, you could go Nevalliance is all behind us that you see it. And yeah, we will be having monthly events. We have one coming up, Networking with a Purpose, and that's going to be October 9th, I would say. Regardless, you could go to the website, you find information. And it's just a lunch meetup. It is free. Just join to get connected to other business individuals. So yeah, until next time, thank you so much for joining us and bye.